Hey, welcome back to another RC Worst video. Today we're here again with Scott from Sump Alarm, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at this float switch offering that Sump Alarm has. And now, Scott, you actually told me you were going to bring all your float switches in today, so what's the deal here?
Well, Chris, we have a lot of SKUs and float switches. It's just that I only brought you 2 samples.
Oh, okay.
But they basically, you know, when people look at float switches, they really look at the end configuration. And, you know, quite honestly, I think float switches could be much more simple than the current market has made them out to be.
Just too much selection?
Too much selection. You know, why do you need all that? All of our float switches are rated to a 0.5 horsepower, 13.3 amps. They're all made with Honeywell micro switches that are rated up to 1 million cycles. And then they're all made single pole, double throw in the wire lead configuration.
Okay.
We do have a piggyback offering. But I'm a huge fan of wire lead float switches because I think they bring more value to the customer. You know, obviously we use these as an ingredient part in our alarms, and then we also offer them as their own product line. A wire lead float switch is, generally speaking, less expensive than a piggyback float switch, and for your DIY type of people, you can use it to close the circuit when the float switch is down or close the circuit when the float switch is up. And then you've got an offering out there of people that want to start a 10 horsepower, 230 volt pump off of a float switch. Well, float switches weren't made for that. Float switches were made to basically close a circuit. Contactors and relays are made for starting those bigger pumps. So we feel like we can work with a very simple selection of float switches that's going to get the job done. And if you have trucks, or you're a retail site, or you're RC Worst, why not have a single SKU solution that sits on your shelf that fits most of the needs?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you've got this switch here, which is kind of more your control switch. Of course, it's a single pole, double throw switch. And then tell me a little bit about this guy. This one is different from what I'm used to say the least. It's quite heavy as well. It
is quite heavy, and if you don't need it for an application in a sump or a septic system, you can always just use it as a medieval mace.
Yeah, a beatdown weapon. Yeah, I agree. It could be effective.
So basically, we don't look at them in terms of like control and pump or anything like that, because electrically, they're made of the exact same stuff. The big difference is that the Water Boss product line is made to be tethered and induce a range with it, right? By the way, these are all mechanical floats, no mercury.
Okay.
Whereas the Sludge Boss product line, the Sludge Boss is internally counterweighted. So rather than putting a counterweight on it, the counterweight is inside, and it pivots around itself. So where this becomes really attractive is, for example, let's say that you're working with something that's pretty nasty, and you would really prefer not to have to go in it in order to mount a float switch. Well, you can simply hang the Sludge Boss into the location where you want it, and when the water level comes up, the Sludge Boss is going to tip over naturally. And because of its weight, it doesn't matter if there's suspended solids or there's a layer of
fats and greases,
etc. on the top of it. It's going to orient in pretty much any situation.
It's going to bust through that sludge.
That's right. So, you know, but it is not made to be tethered, right? It's made to alert or close a circuit at a particular level.
Now, one thing that some of our guys have mentioned is they've encountered this pear-shaped float, and I know for sure it's not this exact float, but this pear shape around here has kind of been associated with a high likelihood of failure due to waterlogging. So what kind of makes your switch not susceptible to that?
Well, basically it's a switch inside of a switch. So when you look at the Sludge Boss, what we have internally is a iron counterweight inside of here and an extremely buoyant foam on the other end. And then inside of all that is packed an entire other float switch.
Wow. Well, is this one here? We can go ahead and take a look inside?
We sure can. Thanks to the advanced machinery here at RC Worst, Chris was able to do a very nice job earlier of very smoothly lopping off the head of this conical float switch.
And it becomes an ice cream cone.
It does. It does. Would you like a bite? So here you can see inside is the float. Here is the foam, and then down at the base is the iron core.
So this is like the identical float as we've got here.
Yes, it is. It's just packaged differently, internally counterweighted. And
what you're telling me is you only brought one float.
Like I told you, it's much more complicated than it needs to be, right? There is a difference between the two in the warranty. We put a 3-year warranty in the field on these, which I believe is pretty competitive. And then there's a 5-year field warranty on the Sludge Boss.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. And then you also mentioned you kind of offer this unique item, and we figured it's worth mentioning. This is a piggyback blank cord. So you find yourself in a situation where you need one of these unicorns, then we've got them. We're going to go ahead and get these set up online. I think this is a relatively new product, right?
We've had it for a while just out of necessity.
It's new to me.
It's a good little cord. It also has a 13 amp rating. And they're used in some of the most unbelievable applications. A lot of times people want to work out their own thing to start and stop a pump, or even using a foot switch, out in a plant, for example, like you did when you cut open the Sludge Boss, to turn on or turn off a piece of equipment. Normally, people just need the piggyback connector for that and a small length of wire.
That way they can break one of the legs in the circuit.
And it wasn't necessarily meant to be a product either. It was something we needed out of necessity, and then just offer it because we have it.
Yeah, that sounds great. I don't know of anywhere else that you can actually buy one of these things. My solution has always just been to go dig through the scrap floats and cut one off.
That'll work too.
But I don't regularly do that. So, I appreciate you coming by and taking a look at the different floats that you guys have to offer. It's not a long list, but it definitely sounds like you've got the bases covered.
Well, when we talk about the cable lengths, you can get this one in anything from a 6-foot to 100-foot.
Okay.
There's 5 cable lengths on the Water Boss: 6, 10, 16, 33, and 100. And then Sludge Boss starts at 16. We do 16, 20, 33, and 100-foot lengths.
Some of those seem like strange cable lengths.
They are, and it's because we specified them in meters way back when.
Yeah, okay. That's kind of what I was thinking. Gotta love the imperial system.
So, 2 meters, 3 meters, 5 meters, 10 meters, and 33 meters.
All right, well, that was a lot of fun going over the different float switches that you guys bring to the table. You can find all those on rcworks.com. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more great content. Thanks again, Scott, for joining us. We really appreciated having you here today.
Thank you.
Catch you next time.